So one of the reasons why Grasshopper has kind of ruined typical normal Rhino modeling for me is because it can do stuff like this. We can create this field pattern, be able to move where we want this pattern to be, and then adjust the attractor for that gradient. So the idea here is to show you more concepts on how to use parametric tools for architecture. This one's super useful because, like I said, some of these are almost impossible to do by hand, and by learning some of these workflows, you can understand how important parametric design will be for the future. For now, I'll be sharing with you all of the steps here in detail from beginning to end, and if you get stuck somewhere, you can go to my website, capettidavid.com, and you can download this for free to see how it plugs in. I also have other resources to help you get started. So with that being said, thank you very much for being here, and let's jump right into it. All right, since we're doing the whole thing parametrically, let's create the base geometry so we can set the stage for the idea here. So first thing is we'll create a rectangle. This is going to determine the overall area. Now we can pick a size for the X and a size for the Y. So this rectangle, we can now use these two sliders to change the overall size. This is going to be the idea of whatever area you're trying to cover. And now we need to divide this. So this tutorial, I'm going to show you using it isotrim, which is the default way of subdividing in a rectangle. And then here, we also need to use divide domain squared. With these two, we use the surface. So we'll use a boundary surface to create a surface at the rectangle. And then with the surface, we can plug this into the surface and into the domain. And then here the segments into the domain input. Notice that we have this distortion. That's because we're previewing both of these. So let's hide these two, and I'll go to middle click and then disable preview. Now we can create a slider for both the U and V. So let's kind of change this a little bit. Now we're going to, let's just call this U and call this V. And as we go along, we'll label these so we know exactly what they do. So this is the U, V, and then this is going to be the X size and the Y size. And this is nothing more than what you would do inside of Rhino. It's just here, we're using a component, and then we can always change the input. Okay. With the surface now subdivided, we're going to be creating the attractor. So the attractor is going to be where the point is going to react to the pattern. So let's go back to this surface and then hide this surface. And then the concept here is going to be to extract a point from this surface. For this, we're going to use evaluate surface. And we're going to be using the surface as the input. And then for the point, we can actually use a coordinate point, but here we'll use an MD slider. This MD slider gives you from 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And so it will look at this surface as from 0 to 1 and from 0 to 1. We can plug this in here, but notice that we're not getting the point to move. It's only moving down here in the corner. And that's the reason why we have to reparameterize this surface. Because once we reparameterize it, it will look at it from 0 to 1 and from 0 to 1. And now this represents the entire surface, so we can move this around. Let's just leave it here towards the middle. So now we have the point that can be moved to whatever location, and that point needs to we need to understand how far that point is from all of these surfaces. So I'll hide this and notice that now we have this point that is moving throughout all of this grid. With this, now we need to figure out how close this point is to all of those. So what we need to do is bring in an area component and bring the midpoint of all of these. With this, we can create a line segment between the point and this point, this endpoint. Notice now that the length of that line represents how far it is from the point. So when we move this around, notice that if I move it here and I get close, this point is close to this one, but it's really far from this one. So the length gets tied to the point. So let's move this to the middle. Let's hide this. And now the next part is going to be, how do we select all of these squares relative to how far they are from this point? Now here, this line represents the overall length, but we need to turn that into a number, which would be using length. We'll plug all those curves into length, and notice that now if we look at this on a list, the distance changes from a smaller number, let's say 3, to larger numbers like 96. So what we need to do is, using this length, be able to pick the ones that are closest to that point. So for that, we use less than, let's see, smaller than. For the length, we'll use this number as the first number. And the second number is the pattern that we're going to pick. So here, let's just go to, let's say, 150. Next, we're going to use a component called dispatch. And this will allow us to separate the close ones and the ones that are far apart. So what goes into what? The smaller than goes into the dispatch pattern, and the list is the surfaces. Now we can't see the difference because right now both list A and B are together here. So if we use a surface component for these, the ones that are closer, and then one for list B, which are the ones that are left over. So now notice that if I select this one and we move this one, we are now picking the numbers that are closer to that point, and we can always go back and change where that is located. What is this for? Because we have the overall field of subdivisions. Now with this one, we're picking exactly the area where, let's say, we want to locate part of that pattern. And then with this one, we can either increase the radius or decrease it. So let's actually increase some of the subdivisions. It might make it easier for us. And here, let's go to something like this, like 60. So now we have this and this. And now with this, we can use a point attractor again to scale this down to give the effect that I showed you. So what we need to do here is, let's just hide this and bring back that point, which is this one. Now this is the new pattern, and we need to bring in the center point for those and a line segment between the center of those and this point. Okay, now with this, once again, we need to get the length. We can now hide this because with the length, we know how far this tile is from that point. That's the furthest away one. And then there's one that's closer. So now all of these surfaces are tied to that length. And now we can remap the numbers. So using this length as the value, when you remap numbers, you use bounds, and you use construct domain. First, we take the length, plug it into the bounds, which will give you the largest and smallest number, and that goes into the source. Then the domain start and end goes into target, and this is where I like to use one number first and then change them around. So let me show you. So let's say 5.5. I'll place that as the start and as the end. That way you see the pattern change automatically, but then we can change how it varies, whether it's making it larger or smaller. So let me show you that. Next, these remap numbers are going to be for an offset. So if we take these surfaces and offset them, notice that they're offsetting to the outside. So we'll actually use a negative component to plug in the map numbers into the distance. Now, the reason why it's red is because it's too big. So let's just decrease the size here. Let's make both of them 2. So now, notice that these are the new offsets, and let's hide these. And let's also hide the original subdivisions, these. And now here, create a boundary surface. And lastly, we'll bring back this. That's the leftover pattern. So notice here, what we can do is make these be 0, which means they won't be offset when they get to the edge. And then here, they start offsetting. And at some point, the offset is so large that they will actually disappear. And this is why you'll see this offset as red, saying that some curves were not able to offset. And that's because the small ones that disappear can't exist. Now we could also do like remove the smallest ones. But this is the simple concept as to how to create kind of this gradient. And in my opinion, the coolest part is that we can always change where that is located. We can always come back, change how large this area is. And it could be, let's say this is a large plaza, and then this area here would be where there would be, let's say, some landscape. So this could also be a sustainable strategy where you have a floor covering that then becomes porous in certain areas to be able to allow for drainage. So these are just more than anything concepts and ideas and core ideas, like someone commented in the last video, that I want to share with you. Don't be afraid of seeing a red component. Just understand that there's a possibility that some of these surfaces didn't compute because they were too small. So let's go back and adjust this. This is going to be the point location. This part is a little bit confusing when you start going into smaller than or greater than. Just play around with it and see the different combinations that you can come up with. So this is going to be the area. I'm going to put this kind of in the middle here. This is going to be the field. and min or max, min. So this is the maximum, minimum. If you do the opposite, it doesn't really look that great. What's nice is for it to be subtly kind of gradiating, not going so large and then into this. And then here towards the end, let's clean this up. Sometimes if it's legible, I won't hide the wire, but sometimes it's kind of to keep it clean. So this surface. And then to clean it up further, I like to place the last one into a geometry component that's empty so that I could group it and then label it as pattern. And then here it's going to be the field. And we already have it back here, but we'll just bring it forward. So that way both of our outputs are kind of next to each other and makes it clean. So this is from beginning to end on how to create this tile pattern. If you got stuck somewhere or you're like, hey, I don't know how everything plugs in, I'm getting some errors, download it from my website. You'll be able to download it for a limited time. And that's my goal here, is to make sure that you guys are learning about parametric design, sharing with you guys resources and things like that. So with that being said, hopefully you learned a little bit more on how amazing parametric design can be. Some of this stuff, like I've said before, it would be so difficult to do this by hand without Grasshopper. Imagine changing all of those sizes by hand. So, and with this, you can see exactly how that grade, like the gradient kind of creates there. Okay, custom preview. I think this really is the last part. Custom preview, color swatch, and then plug both of these in here into one.